Folks, I am talking to you folks that are new to real estate, or maybe you are new to investing. Big difference between just owning your home and and being a beginning investor. Even when you first own a home, most people don't even know what they signed, but they manage to make it happen and do it. Look, if you're not investing in real estate, you're probably falling behind. And to give you a quick example of that, uh, how many of you can relate to sitting in a home that you're renting that is now worth twice what you could have bought it for at one time? There's like millions of people like that. And we've got things going on right now in the country that there's just a fantastic window of opportunity. Believe me, I've been doing this for 44 years. In fact, if you don't have my book, you want to get my book by the same name, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. I'll put that right here. See that? Right there. Okay, grab your copy today. You'll be glad you did. I've got many millionaires in my class, many new millionaires, ages 30 on up to 50 years old, people that one deal, making more than $1 million, okay? It doesn't always happen that way, but, you can hit a lot of singles, meaning make 100,000, doubles making 200,000. It's not uncommon, and if you go to, the only way you're going to know is by checking in and finding out. Go to a free webinar. I got one this Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. And again, I promise you'll never find a webinar or seminar like mine. I'm a one-man show. I don't have a team, all this team garbage that people talk about. It's just such a bunch of bullshit. It just doesn't happen. It's not necessary. You're talking about, that's kind of for the amateurs, right? When people talk about team and this, that, and the other thing, they're really talking about people that can't do it by themselves, or they just don't know enough that they can do it by themselves. And so, a lot of fake gurus out there trying to make you think you're dependent on them, that you need this team, you need a facilitator for this and acquisition. It's such stupid stuff. It's like saying you need a team to buy a car. It's absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to get into it, and I'm going to show you what real estate investing is really like, and at the level that you really want to be at. I know because I live the dream, and I want you to do it, and my students are living the dream as well. Hey, Tom here. Look, wholesalers, flippers, investors, listen, you want to get good guidance. You want to build a portfolio. This is what it really looks like to be a successful real estate investor. Been doing it for 4.5 decades, have hundreds of thousands of square feet of rentals, have students that have become millionaires in as little as 2 years. Go to flipanythingusa.com. I'll show you how to do it. All right. Anyways, so I just actually married one of my 4 kids this week on my own estate. It was a beautiful thing, fantastic wedding, and it's just a real nice milestone. I just wanted to share that. And I'll tell you, one of the best things is having those legacy properties. Properties that you get to pass down to your kids. And I really just kind of want that for everybody out there. And it is 100% possible. A lot of people don't think it is. And a lot of it is just kind of this paralysis by analysis. Anyways, so, all these signs you see behind me, they have certain significance. There's, the neighborhood meetings, you can't believe how many neighborhood meetings I've had where I've talked to people in the area, and I've had to get rough with some of my people in some of these places, and I'm talking about lawsuits and things like that. But it's not always that way. But if you've been doing it for decades, you run into things that you're not going to run into if you just do 1 or 2 deals. But the thing is if you limit yourself to just doing 1 or 2 deals, you can get wealthy. You can still become a millionaire. That's actually that's really not that big a deal. But if you want to become a multimillionaire, and believe me, $1 million just doesn't buy much. I've been doing this since 1981, and I was a millionaire in the 80s. And the deal is, $1 million just got so much more. $1 million home in the 80s actually was something. $500,000 home was really something back then. And, $500,000, I'll give you an example. I went to a comedy club down in Los Angeles not all that long ago, and the comedian was talking about how he just got this big HBO special, just did his first movie, just had his first kid, and he just got his first $1 million home that he always dreamed about. And then he laughed and he said, yeah, but when I dreamed about my $1 million home, he said it wasn't a 2-bedroom, 1 bath like it actually is. And that's just a fact. $1 million does not go far. So look, those of you that are interested, in fact, I actually got to pull my phone up here to see, because for whatever reason, I am not getting the chat going here. So I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. How am I going to communicate with you guys if I can't see the chat? Ay, ay, ay. So bear with me. I'm going to pull it up on my phone, and I'll read the chat there, and we'll see what happens. And we'll go to the live right now, and I can see the chat now. So if anybody has a question, just fire away. But look, there's so many things to show. There's so many things to talk about. When I pull up this, and I pull this up often, and I'm going to do it now just as a means to show you, just the different kinds of properties. Look at all these properties. There's more than 100 here. All these properties that you see here, every one of these deals I've made. Some of these are, multi-million-dollar deals. Let me get this screen going here. Sorry. Okay, there you go. Every one of these deals you see, is tens of millions of dollars in real estate here, maybe even $100 million. But I've managed to hold on to hundreds of thousands of square feet here. Hey, Rich, good to see you in here. Tom, I just got the appraisal back, and the plazas came back at $300K over the contract price. Oh, that's fantastic. So Rich here is in my class that he's commenting right now, and he's actually one of my students that made over $1 million in less than 2 years. And now he's at about 4 years in, and he's probably going to make his fourth million very soon here. And that's how quickly things can happen. And it doesn't happen in an instance, and even Rich here, you made 150 on your first deal, and then another 250 on your second, and then he made about 800 grand on his third, and then he rolled that in. And this is what's beautiful, is the students are kind of just exactly mirroring my success. Where I bought land and made, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on land or houses. These are all houses that I bought and sold just out of one subdivision, or land, and then rolling it into assets, like these buildings that, you get $20,000 or more a month. This is the kind of, like, it's fantastic, because Rich, who's in here right now, he's creating a legacy property right now. He's going to have something that he can hand down to his kids, that if he died tomorrow, the wife and kids could live off of the investments that he's made. And he's still a very young man. He's in his early 30s. And really that's what I want for everybody watching here, and that is what's happening. It's just an absolute fact. And there's so much fake guru bullshit out there that I feel sorry for all the people that are swimming in that swamp of YouTube University. And and so look here, I'm just going to take you to the success page, because this is, like I say, when you see here, you're going to see real wealth. Like here, that's Rich right there above my head. That's Rich right there, and he's in Texas. Actually, I'm in Texas too, and we were talking about some of the properties that he first bought. You can watch these. It's a fantastic story, and you want to be one of these guys. Chris is probably damn near made $1 million now already too. Liam's made about $1 million now. Josh right here, another millionaire. There's just, I'll go ahead and play just a little clip of one of these. Maybe I can play yours too, Rich. But if you don't stick your toe in the water, if you don't begin, you're never gonna get anywhere. There's a guy, Jeff Davis was a guy that I liked a lot. He was a builder when I was a cabinet maker, and he could see what a hustler I was. But he had a thing he'd say, see, you can't win the lottery unless you buy a ticket, right? And what he's saying is nothing's going to happen unless you raise your hand, unless you stick your foot in there, unless you get, unless you take an action. It's like right now, I'm actually tired. Wasn't even going to do this video. Frickin' chat doesn't work. I'm having to read the chat. I'm having to read the chat off my phone right now. 500. Oh, is that for me? Oh, I think I understand where you're going, Rich. Well, we'll talk after the show. Okay. Is that what you're hinting at? That's starting to look good to you? Anyways, Yeah, I thought there was a little bit of maybe a slight bit of, I don't like to rain on anybody's parade. You got a great deal there, though. Don't worry. You got a great deal there. But anyways, I'm excited. It does look like a heavy lift in some respects, but we're not going to talk about it. We got to stay cryptic because that's what I tell everybody to do in my classes. You stay cryptic. Loose lips sink ships. But is that where you're going with that, Rich? I think I know where you're going, and I'm not disappointed, actually. Hey, Alberto Cruz wrote, so Tom, so you never made any money on manufactured homes? No, I have not, Alberto. It's just, but I've made money on land that I've sold to people that put manufactured homes. So indirectly, yes, I have made money on land that's been used that way. I bought a mobile home park before, which is basically a manufactured home, right? I can tell you, look, since you're on that subject, again, this is one of my students. He just turned 41. And before he turned 40, he'd already made about $1 million. I remember I made a little birthday tape wishing him happy birthday. But this is Josh. And, you'll learn to trust yourself, and because this is what you're going to start getting your own skills. Everybody's got a different personality, right? But what I want to do is just get you the skills that you need to get started, and then it takes a very long time. I've been mentoring for 3.5 years, and we have a Saturday meeting for 3 hours every Saturday, and all this goes into the archives. But every time something new comes out from my past, and it's based on kind of predicated on what's happening with one of my students right now. And that kind of ends up revealing, actually some of my experience, but I could never dig it out and throw it out there if I hadn't already made it happen. You know what I mean? In other words, you have to live it, I guess is what I'm saying. You have to live it. Brad, what are you talking about, dude? Ironwood Land. Hey, good to see you here, Ironwood. Anyways, if you have not gotten into the banner, get into the webinar this Thursday, 7 p.m. You'll be talking to me just like this, and I appreciate the new students that signed up last week. It's really, really neat. Not everybody's in the same situation. You got people. A lot of times I'll see guys that are going through a divorce, and they got 2 rentals to pay for, and life throws things at you like that. And ideally, you make money. Ideally, you make the money before you ever get married. To be quite honest, I was a millionaire before I got married, and I'd pull up to a property, and my wife would say, "Why are we stopping here?" I go, "Oh, we own this." She goes, "Oh, we do?" And can I see? Go inside, take a look. And this is because that's my business, right? That's my business. That's what I do. That's what I know. And, a lot of you guys, sometimes you'll have, sometimes you can have a negative person. I've never had that because I just shut everybody out. I'm a one-man show, and that's what I really teach everybody to be. I don't need anybody to pat me on the back. The money's going to do that. When I see the money I make, when I see the profit, when I see the spread, that tells me that that's all the applause, that's all the kudos I need. Anyways, so Alberto, I can show you, with a lot of times with what you're talking about with manufactured homes, the money is in the land. It's almost always in the land. If I was building homes, and I thought I was making about $70,000 a home, but really I was only making about $50,000 a home, and that's a lot. This is back in 1984, 1985. I'd build a 1,700 square foot home, and I'd sell it for $170,000. And that is the reason I was making what I was making is because I was getting $30,000 lots for $10,000. So that was adding on the 20 grand. And one month I sold 3 lots. Really in 1 hour, I sold 3 lots for $90,000, and I made 60 grand. And I thought, why am I even building anymore? There's just no reason to do so. Hey, Angel, good to see you in here. Anyways, I just, really want everybody to understand, whether if you got your eyes on land, look, this is 50 acres. I made $2.5 million on this 50 acres, and now it's covered with, it's covered with houses. There's 180 homes on that 50 acres that I bought, and but I bought small lots and made half. In fact, I can go back. So look at this is like probably, oh God, when did I sell this? I sold this in. I'm gonna say I sold this around 2020, right? 2020, now maybe 2019. Okay, now I want to show you a property that I bought and sold in 3 weeks back in 1984. Okay, this is, well, actually there's a few of them actually. So we're going into California now. And by the way, one of the things I always hear people say, oh, California, you can't make any money. Everything's too expensive. Listen, more expensive, the better. I don't care where you are. I got people that make, made a pile of money in New York. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You're just looking for an excuse of why you can't do it or why you shouldn't stick your neck out. But, look, I bought a property right here I bought it for $140,000 and I sold it for $520,000. Okay, I sold it for $7,000 an acre. I bought it for $2,000 an acre. This is one I bought for $30,000, sold for $165,000. So Albert wrote, so when buying a manufactured home on land, the manufacturer home is not worth as much because it doesn't hold its value, right? Yeah, I mean, it's a depreciating asset, but it doesn't mean, the manufactured homes are a lot better today than maybe they were at one time. I mean, I've heard about 2x6 walls. I've heard about 2x4 walls. That's kind of subjective. There's no reason you can't build a home remotely and set it on a slab. In fact, that's kind of I was just talking to a guy. He hasn't got in the class yet, but he's gonna. I think his name's Blake, and he was talking about panel framing. So now you can buy, instead of going up and buying 2x4s, you kind of basically get your house delivered in walls that they're already pre-shot with siding on them, not siding but underlayment basically, and so you're just kind of stacking and shooting walls together. And so I'm not going to shoot down a manufactured home. It's just another form of building it and delivering it. If you set it on a slab, that's the main thing. Mobile homes is different. Mobile homes are kind of crap. They're built extremely light. I remember when I was a kid, I had a BB gun. I shot the BB gun in the house and it went through the paneling and through the outside metal of the trailer home. So yeah, but what's your deal, Albert? Why are you so focused on manufactured homes? I mean, when there's money in anything. If you're talking about developing, if you're talking about buying the lot, buying the home, putting it together and selling it, listen, there's money in that. But the real money is going to be on the piece of land that you buy. The piece of land that you buy. In other words, maybe you buy whatever. You buy 10 acres and you break it into 4 pieces, and now you got 4 2.5 acre lots. I mean, or even if you just buy the lot, just a single lot under market, the money isn't really so much the home. It's always kind of on the land in general. Now, it doesn't mean you can't buy a manufactured home far under value. People go bankrupt. There's all kinds of reasons that people sell things for less than they're worth. It happens all the time. And that's kind of one of the things I like to enlighten people with and teach them about. Look, what you really need to come away with is look at how many properties. Okay, every one of these properties represents 5 properties that you see right here. In other words, I didn't want to put 5 times that, but I went through about 60, 70 lots all in this area. Okay, made a lot of money. And I built 3 homes in here. These are only 50 by 100 lots, right? Look how little the lot is compared to the house. But it just doesn't matter. There is no bad deals. I say this to the class all the time. There is no bad real estate. There's just bad deals. Don't make a bad deal, and you'll make a fortune. And those of you just got here, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Number 1, hit that subscribe button. You really don't want my channel to get away from you. I'm more into quality than quantity, and I'm talking about you guys that are interested. I really don't give a shit how many people watch me. I care about the quality, the people watching that are interested in making money. And that's why people find me. They're truly interested in making money. You've got yo-yos that just want to, they just love chatting about, ARV and EMD and all this other, verbiage and slang for different things. And I understand it might be cool and feel fun, but really, you got to use your head and have common sense and just understand that this is all, everything you see behind me, this is inventory. This is all inventory. And there's nothing worse than having sales with no inventory or having people. Anyways, this is where it's at. This is where it's at. And look at and what I'd like you to see and what everybody to take away with. Okay, look, that is a little house. That's just a shitty little house that I made $20,000 in back about 1987. Okay, and then right around the corner, here's another shitty little house, right here, that I made $16,000. Me and a buddy split $16,000 on this house. Bought it for 40, basically sold it for 56. Okay, now today that would be like making 45,000. Okay, and splitting 45,000. But that's not even my first deal was this commercial building you see right here. I bought that first. Okay, that was the first property I ever bought when I was 19 years old. So people say, how did you buy when you're 19? Must have been connected. Must have been a drug dealer. Must have had money for. No, I didn't. I had $500 in my pocket. $500 is what got this tied up. That let me take it across the line where I sold this thing for $220,000. But I got in the door with $500, got a 6-month escrow. That bought me 6 months' time. I moved in, lived there for free, rented it, and was able to save the 10 grand. A lot of creative real estate, a lot of creative financing. It's all out there. All right, Brad Davidson. Oh, geez, dude. I know it's an unorthodox question, but do agents... I don't know what the hell you're talking about, Brad. I think you got the wrong channel, dude. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not even a real estate agent, just so you know. Land is huge. We just finished our first quick service restaurant deal. This is Ironwood. Land is huge. We just finished our first quick service restaurant deal. Got the lot for $375K. Locked up Dunkin' Donuts to pitch in for the build and move in. Nothing compares to real estate. Yeah, so in other words, you can do that if you've got land, and I've had some weird offers. I can say I had a prime piece of property and a tea company, right? I think it was called Texas Tea or some sort of tea company. They said, hey, we want to build, we have somebody that's going to buy our franchise and we'll build a building on your property and you'll be the landlord and you'll get X. It averaged out about a 7% cap rate, which I'm not interested. I like to make a lot more money than that. And I said, well, let me go look at let me see one of your establishments. So I went down and I saw a guy that had done exactly that. He put his property up and they put a tea. Now, I'll tell you why I didn't like it, okay? And you guys that are builders and really any developer would understand this. So it really took almost no power. All they had was a little shell with really just basically 110 all around, and they had those little machines that you'd see on the counter if you ever went to a drive-in a walk-in or a drive-in where you get the snacks at the snack bar. They would have like the lemonade that would squirt up on a dome. You'd be looking at like a bowl, almost like a fish bowl, but with a top on it. And you'd see the lemonade hit the top, and it would kind of run down the sides. So it was constantly stirring the lemonade. So that's what they had, like 20 of these things. And that's like peach tea doing it, and lemon tea, and this tea, and that other tea. But I thought, there's nothing here. I thought there's nothing here. There's just a bunch of, very, very inexpensive devices that stir tea. And yeah, there's an ice machine. In other words, I don't have any faith in the business. So that's why I said, not interested. Now, I've seen these other things called Bobo tea or something like that. And I hadn't even been inside one, but that's another tea company. I don't know if any of you guys go. Anybody out there go out and watch tea? Out and go buy tea at a store where you buy. I'm talking about pre-made tea, a gallon of tea. Now it's hotter than hell in Texas. I can see maybe there is a viable business there, but certainly not for me. But what do you guys want to talk about? What do you want to look at real estate wise? Are some of you dreaming about houses? Let me tell me what you're into. Yeah. Alberto wrote, on my street, Tom, in Central Florida, there is a lady with a couple properties on an acre, and they have trailers on them from the 80s. The manufactured homes on an acre around go for $250 to $300K. Okay, so you get a manufactured home on a lot. So you need to know what the lot's worth. You got to know what the land is worth, right? Because then you can make sense of the rest of it. All right. She wants 120 to 130K for each what? Each lot? I don't know what you got to be a little more specific, Albert. But listen, it sounds interesting. Everything does to me. Anyways, what else? Has anybody here been in my webinar yet? Anybody here? Does anybody want to go? Let's see. Anyways, keep in mind, Rich here, if I understand what he's telling me in this chat, by the way, is I told him I'd give him $500,000 to take over the property that he has. And we'll take a look at that. Wow. Yeah, there could be an issue there. Anyways, Rich, I'll be following up. All right. Anyways, guys, look, get in the webinar this Thursday. Don't miss out. Listen, you know, he who hesitates gets left at the starting gate, and I will explain that to you in detail and how that could mean that you're going to miss out on $1 million if you don't take time to see what's out there. You know, a fool and his money are soon parted, and you know, you guys know I'm not a fake guru. I'm out there. You know, I can't even really collaborate with anybody, only because just about 90% of everybody out there is freaking fake. You know, there's even guys I thought were real on YouTube, and then after I took a closer look, it's like, oh shit, these guys don't know shit. And so, anyways, that's where it's at, and hope to see you guys soon.
And listen, time is on a mission to eliminate all the snake oil and the fake gurus that fake y'all. He'll show you how to build an empire, starting with nothing but a desire. All you really need is a good mentor, not a used car bullshit. With time, you'll learn to crush it. Investing like Warren Buffett. With real estate, you cannot procrastinate. Everyone who hesitates is left at the starting gate. Hey, yo, so don't delay and join today. The mentorship and flip anything. USA, go.
You want to learn how to make millions of dollars in real estate? I've made tens of millions over my lifetime, and I'm showing people how to do it. Get in my free webinar. I have it every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Go to the link below, flipanythingusa.com/webinar. Sign up for it. You can talk to me face to face if you want. Don't waste any time. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You don't want to miss my channel. I've been doing it for years.